All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great session with the presidential candidate of the fictional Common Sense People's Party. Now, one essential ingredient of leadership that is often overlooked by many is empathy. When you are going to make a man the most powerful person in a nation, it is extremely important that you choose a person who is kind. That kindness, that empathy will reflect in the kind of policies he will make and even in the kind of statements you will hear from him in times of affliction. Unfortunately, empathy is one quality that is lacking amongst this present crop of rulers in Nigeria and the APC as a whole. This was one of the things we pointed out to Nigerians during the campaigns. After Fulani headsmen killed the daughter of a Yoruba chief, Fasoranti, Fulani headsmen killed this chief's daughter. And when Yorubas began to sympathize with the chief, Tinubu came out and said, killing of Fasoranti's daughter must not be used to divide Nigeria. All he cared about while everybody was mourning the chief's daughter was the presidency. That was all he cared about. A lack of empathy. We warned. And in just less than 7 months, we have seen a reflection of a lack of empathy in his policies. Look at the removal of fuel subsidy. Look at how thoughtless they went about it. Look at what they did with the palliatives. We have also seen a reflection of a lack of empathy in the 2024 budget, where billions of naira was allocated for the building of a house for the vice president, somebody who already has many houses, where billions of naira, 20.1 billion, was allocated to Chief of Staff Gbajabiamila to build official residence and buy computer softwares, while millions and millions of Nigerians are wallowing in abject poverty. But the latest show of Tinubu's lack of empathy came just few hours ago in his response to the killing of 126 innocent civilians in Kaduna. Before I show you what he said and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you how this government displayed a lack of empathy towards Nigerian workers. Look at how the papers reported it. Labour fumes as FG stops 35,000 award payment. The organized labor and the federal government are on a collision course over the government's failure to sustain the payment of 35,000 naira wage award to workers. Workers in federal civil service, in separate interviews with our correspondent on Monday, noted that the federal government only paid 35,000 wage award for September, following the removal of fuel subsidy by President Bola Tinubu on his assumption of office. The federal government agreed to pay 35,000 naira to each of its workers to reduce the hardship caused by the subsidy removal. The government, in a memo signed by the chairman, National Salaries, Wages and Income Commission, Ekpo Nta, stated that the payment of the wage award would begin to take effect from September 1, 2023. However, findings by our correspondents indicated that the government only paid the wage award for September. A senior civil servant in one of the core ministries, departments and agencies said the wage award was only paid once, and I assumed that was the one for September. Since then, we have not received another. We are all confused as there has been no official communication from the government as regards the matter. We are all confused at the moment. Another civil servant who spoke to our correspondent on the condition of anonymity said, "What you heard is true. We have not received anything else other than the initial wage award which was paid. The government cannot continue to let the citizens suffer. Our take-home salaries cannot even take us home any longer at this point." Now, when people told Labour not to trust these people, that the APC government is not a government you can trust, it sounded as if people were just being partisan. Now they have seen for themselves. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Look at some of the tweet reactions. This tweet by Johnson says, "Honestly, the current administration has actually scammed us. Workers only received that of September. Since then, nothing has been paid again. I see the handwriting of Chief of Staff to the President on the wall. in this saga of pending payment of 35,000 naira to workers. Allowing yourself to be scammed on this matter means you are also complicit. After seeing what these people did to get to power, are you not supposed to know that they are up to no good? Why should you even trust any promise they make, Mr. Johnson? And this tweet by Kunle says, it was a ruse before. They can't be trusted to do anything good for the masses. That is it. You can't trust them to do anything good for the masses. And wisdom here says, both the labor union and the federal government are not sincere. It's high time the masses wake up and do the needful. That's what we've been saying. And Daily Joe here says, you cannot be an effective pressure group for the oppressed and be dining with the oppressors at the same time. That is it. Labor has soiled their hands. And this tweet here says, you have gotten yourself a government that is pretty good at disappointing, typically, and a toothless union nonsense. Oh, this one enter. Nigerians must take Tudumbiri bombing that killed 126 civilians as tragic event designed by God. TINUBU. President Bola Tinubu on Monday said that the accidental airstrike that killed at least 126 persons and injured scores in Tundumbiri, Kaduna State is a tragic event designed by God. My purpose is to condole the entire country through the army on the loss of life in Kaduna. It is tragic, Mr. Tinubu said during his visit to the Shehu of Borno. But as people of faith and people who believe in this country, importantly, faith, death through Maulud Nabir is Shahada. We must take that one as a tragic event designed by God, he added. Mr. Tinubu's statement comes barely a week after the Nigerian army mistakenly bombed Tudumbiri village, killing villagers celebrating Maulud. Mr. Tinubu's statement attributing the incident to God echoes Vice President Kashim Shettiman's, who asked Nigerians not to dwell on the matter. Similarly, Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor, urged the country to move on despite innocent lives lost in the tragic incident. Idris Dahiru, a resident of Tudumbiri, narrated how the army bombed villagers celebrating Maulud, killing 34 members of his family. Mr. Dahiru said the army dropped 2 bombs on the village in 30 minutes interval, explaining that the second bomb killed those who ran to the scene to rescue villagers injured by the first bombing. What a tragic way to die. They went on a rescue mission and the second bomb landed and claimed their lives. And the papers reported that this man, Idris Dahiru, lost 34 of his family members. Can you imagine that? But the vice president says we should not dwell on it. The National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu says we should move on. And now the president himself did not say anything until after a week, and he eventually came out and he called it an act of God. There is no better way to describe a lack of empathy. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Look at some of the tweet reactions. Tweet here by D says, look at what a president is saying. I'm telling you, it beats my imagination. And this tweet here by Chief says, this is very insensitive and appalling. Tinubu's attempt to justify the Tundumbiri bombing is an insult to the victims and their families. Shameful spin on a tragic event. And this tweet by the purveyor of truth says, oh my God, this guy is so heartless, arrogant, cocky, and so insensitive to the lives that were lost and to the grieving families. These are ways the corrupt politicians use ethnicity, tribe, and religion to manipulate Nigerians for their selfish reasons and gains. Pathetic man. This one says, I don't see anything wrong in the news. It's what the APC represents. Killings. Rather, I see problem in the picture of him posting 2 fingers, which means I will chook hand in Nigerians' eyes. God does not fly drones. It was the army. How did God design this? A joke taken too far. Oh! And this tweet by Air says, we have now gotten to the level where tragic news perpetrated by reckless attitude is now seen as deeds of God. What a shameful statement that human errors and mistakes are now classified as deeds of God. APC doesn't value life. They can easily say we are all collateral damage. Oh! And this tweet here says, the same way Nigerians will take the extravagant lavishing of our money in ostentation by his regime. It's absurd to deceive Nigerians with quixotism. A good leader should accept mistakes and seek remedies to forestall further fallibilities and not to rely on the theory of the act of God. Waiting concern this one with good leadership. And Busam here says, I feel like crying right now. I mean, how can a leader say a thing like this? What happened was a human error, and adequate measures ought to be taken to avoid reoccurrence in future. Now, to be completely honest with you, I am not surprised by the utterances of TINUBU. He, Shetima, and Nuhu Ribadu have given statements about the killings that took place in Kaduna. And all their three statements had an undertone of I don't care. It is not a coincidence. That is who they are. And that is the kind of leadership that Nigeria will continue to get until we get rid of the APC. Anyway, make I leave am here. Make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because na because of una na I dey here. So don't go away. Don't go